Hey guys! Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Diana and I'm here with my fellow RAs. I'm a junior studying Business of Cinematic Arts here at USC.
Hi, I'm Joan. I'm a senior majoring in political science with a minor in international relations.
Hi, I'm Malia. I'm a junior studying psychology with a minor in early childhood education.
And today we just want to talk about tips and tricks on how to apply for college. We're all first generation students and we understand how difficult and overwhelming the whole process can be. It just comes down to organizing and researching the whole college application process, because it just seems so overwhelming because there's so many schools, there's so many majors, and you don't know where to even start. So most of your time, your junior year or the summer before your senior year, you should just be researching colleges and trying to find what you really like. Like if you did certain courses in high school or clubs that you really enjoyed, then that could be a potential like major that you dive into. But also don't be afraid to like just stick to one major, because once you get into college you might find something new that you like.
Yeah, I think what Diana is saying is really good advice, because a lot of people choose a major and they just stick to it until they graduate because they feel like they have to. But for me, I went into college as a biology major and I wanted to go into med school, so I was pre-med. But I changed my major to political science, like I mentioned earlier. It's just a complete 180. Some people are like, oh, like why such a dramatic switch? But once you really figure out what you enjoy doing, because you can always change jobs, but at the same time, if this is something that you're planning on doing for the rest of your life, it might as well be something that you really enjoy. And I know like financial, like how much money you're going to be making is a really big deal for a lot of people. But I also encourage you guys to think about all the other factors, like how many hours you're going to be working, how much more time you're going to spend in school, because med school is a long process. It's also very expensive. And there were a lot of things that I didn't want to give up in my life. So yeah, those are all things that you should also consider when you're trying to figure out what major and like what job you want to have in the future.
I just think like when you're doing the research, it was overwhelming for me because no one, obviously I'm first gen, no one went to college, and we didn't know so many colleges existed. Like there were so many. So I think the first thing my mom had me do was like write a list of things that I really wanted in schools, and like one of my top things was like I wanted to be able to explore as much as possible, and USC allows you to like take classes from all different schools. So like that was like on the top of my list. But if the top of my list was like I want class sizes to be small, then I wouldn't have chosen USC. So you have to kind of figure out what's the most important to you.
Yeah. If you do have an idea of what major you want to do, I suggest highly like researching specific programs, because different colleges are known for specific like programs. For instance, USC has the Business of Cinematic Arts program, which I'm a part of, and not only are both of the schools good individually, but people come to USC specifically and recruit from the BCA program because they know that we have that business and creative mindset. So just having a well like resourced program allows you to like further your career. And if you know what you want to do, I highly recommend just searching up like best programs for this or like best colleges in that. So once you've like developed an idea of what you want to consider pursuing, definitely making a college list with your safety schools, target schools, and reach schools. So safety schools are schools that you know for sure you're gonna get in based on your grades, your extracurriculars.
You'll look at the school and you'll see like the average GPA of their students, and if yours is like pretty like well above that, then that would be like a safety school for you. A lot of people have community colleges in their safety schools, but I encourage you to like also look at 4 years as a safety school if that's like something you really want to do, go to four-year university.
The target schools are basically colleges or universities that you think you have a pretty good chance of going into, because they might have a little more lower acceptance rate, or their average acceptance profile, student acceptance profile might be a little higher, like a little higher GPA or higher test scores, or like more extracurriculars. So a little more competitive, but still schools that you think you have a good chance of getting into.
And then we have the reach schools, which are mainly like your Ivy Leagues or schools that are out of your league. But don't be discouraged, because I know some websites, like you could put in all your information and it gives you like, oh, it like rates your safety, target, and reach schools. And for me, it told me that USC was like a reach school and that I would never get in, and like I had a high possibility of not getting in. And I'm here, so don't be discouraged to like not apply to your reach school, because there's still like a high probability that you will get in.
And even if you don't get accepted to like your target schools, I wouldn't be too upset, because I had a really good profile applying to college my senior year, and I still didn't get into a lot of the schools that I thought I would get into. I didn't get into a lot of my reach schools, but that didn't take away from like who I am. I know we're trying to help you guys apply to like good colleges, get into a good college, but at the same time, don't place too much emphasis on the name value of a college, and really try to figure out why you want to go into that college. And don't be upset or too sad if you don't get into the college that's like your dream college, because at the end of the day, you can still get a good education.
Yeah, I want to emphasize that like the name of the school, like I know we're at USC, but like the name or prestige that a school has doesn't really matter. I would say focus more on your major and your program. Like if that school is well resourced and well funded for what you're going into, you're going to benefit more from that than going to a prestigious college just because of its title.
Yeah, just don't choose your college based off the name.
And don't be discouraged if you feel like you don't have like as good of a profile as some of the other students also applying to that college, because even if you have a lower GPA or like lower test scores, if you can still like write better essays and really like, I don't know how else to say this, but package yourself well, like present yourself well to the college, you still have a pretty good chance of acceptance, because like test scores, like numbers are the only thing, they're not the only thing that colleges want to see. They want to see more of you as a person and what you can bring to the table.
Yeah.
And you can always transfer. I transferred.
She's a transfer student. Going to college fairs helps, because there's people that are there, like admission officers or people like students who are already in that college, and you could obviously ask them questions and reach out, asking about like the campus culture, what they like, what they don't like. So it's a good way to connect with current students or alumni. And then once you have your list, I would say to have 5 to 10 schools max, because that gives you enough time and energy to really focus on those specific schools, quality over quantity. So if you have less colleges that you're applying for, you have more time to like research and really hone in on your application and make it like seem that you really want to go there.
And for some of your safety options, you can also research some schools that have rolling admission. So if you really don't end up getting into any college, you can apply to some that have rolling admission. And there's some pretty good ones out there too that do that.
And then we're going to move on to just organizing all the documents that you need to fill out your application. So first, your high school transcript, that just is your official record with all your grades, all the courses that you've ever taken, your A through G requirements that most colleges require. And then I would suggest like that's the first thing that you should do when you have your application, and then just making sure you have your social security number, your scores for your admissions test like the SAT, ACT, and then tax reports. Standardized tests are no longer required. However, I would suggest taking them because they show the college that you put in like effort, and like if you have a good score, it shows that you're able to like handle that college material. And don't be afraid. Like I had not the best score for USC. I had an 1100, which is like nowhere near what the average is, and I still submitted mine, so I don't think it affected me negatively. If anything, it like helped show that I put in that effort to take the test.
I actually never took the SAT or ACT because during COVID, everything was shut down. We weren't allowed to take it. Like in my city, we couldn't go anywhere to take it. So I never took it at all. But I would say that you should take it and then just report your score. It just shows that you're trying. There's no harm in reporting it.
Yeah, unless it's like really bad, then maybe don't.
I think I took both the SAT and the ACT, and I think my advice for that is to, like, the reason I got good scores was because I studied for it, and I also took it multiple times, because it's sometimes you feel better and you do better on a test, and other days you don't, and you can take it multiple times. And if you have trouble paying for it, I think they give you a waiver, right? Yeah. But it helps because then you have multiple options and you can submit your best score. And I know some places also super score, so they take the best score in each category for every test that you took. And I feel like it's also really helpful to take both the SAT and ACT if you have the time, because they're both really different tests. So you can figure out which one you can do better in and which one suits your testing style a little more to give you that better score.
Okay, personal statements. I feel like this is the hardest part of the college application process because writing in general is very like intimidating to many, and it's just like, where do I start?
My recommendation is just to get everything on there. Like, you don't need to think about word count. Just look at the question, put everything you want to say in just like word blob, just write everything down, and then you can always go back to edit. That's why it's good to organize your time and give yourself enough time to work on this, because it takes a lot of editing. I feel like it also helps you share the things that you want to share the most, because it helps you organize your thoughts. And low-key, it kind of gives you like existential crisis.
It does, but I feel like you just need to showcase who you are outside of your grades. Like, they already have your resume, your transcript, so showing a different part of you in each prompt so that they get a bigger sense of who you are as a total person. Like, just express your personality and what makes you who you are. Speak on your leadership roles, on your different identities, and how like it has shaped you and made you who you are today, or like if you had any challenges and how you overcame them. They're mainly looking for growth.
Yeah, I don't know, it can get really like cringy and corny, but I feel like if it gets your message across, do it. Because I don't know, when Diana asked me to film this video, I went back to look at my essays that I wrote for the application. It was so cringy, like I couldn't read it. I was like, I can't believe that I wrote this.
If this video gets like 3,000 likes, we'll read our college essays.
I will not read my essays for 3,000
okay,
likes.
we'll read our
I'll read it.
essays.
I'll do it for 5,000 likes.
Okay.
No, but I just think like the title is like personal statement. Like, it has to be really personal to you. And so like something that's important to you, and it doesn't necessarily have to be important to everyone else. I know someone who wrote their personal essay about their favorite book. When they read that book, it like changed their entire life, and that's what they wrote about. And like to everyone else, that probably feels like a stupid thing, but to them it was really personal, and it showed a lot of who they are. So I think like when you're writing your personal statement, just think about what's important most to you.
Yeah, I have seen, like, I'm a huge One Direction fan, and I had seen so many people use like fangirling as a way on like how they've been able to like build community. It could literally be any topic. It just needs to sound authentic and personal to you. And then for the Why Us essay, that's where all your research that you've done really comes through. I would suggest reaching out to like current students or alumni and asking them like what clubs were they involved in, courses they took for their major, or whatever it be that you could see yourself doing, and really putting yourself in that college, and like, why do you belong in that college? Why does that college need you, and why not any other college? So having a very specific, like, I'm gonna join this club and be in this community, and I could see myself taking this course with this professor. Like, the more specific and more niche it gets, the more they're like, okay, you really want to go to this college. And I feel like that's what I did for USC, and I think that's what helped me get in.
Yeah, I would avoid general. Like, don't say because I'll get a good education, because you'll get a good education anywhere. You have to be like really specific, so they feel like, okay, they looked at this college, they're really interested in us, and they really like did their research to be here. A lot of schools have like their like keywords, like we have our, what is it, like ambitious,
yeah,
whatever, those, and those are like good to like sprinkle in. Those are good to sprinkle in, but like don't obviously list them out, but like put it in there somewhere.
We moved because the sun was getting in Malia's face. Yeah, just to reiterate, literally just start. I kept a notes app on my phone, and with literally any possible idea that would pop into my head, I would just jot it down. I know people have like this pressure to like have this most magnificent story and like use metaphor, but it could be like something simpler and it'll just naturally come to you. So just keeping like a notes app on like any ideas that you have. And then I would advise asking someone who you know is going to be honest and like revise your essay, and just be like as critical as they can. And then having a good variety of different people, so like your teachers, and then a family member, and then friends, so you have like the 3 different like visions, and if they all think it, then it's good, then you're on the right track.
I think especially with word count, editing is so important, because if you can say the same thing but in a shorter way, it makes it more efficient than having to write it out a lot longer.
For me, it was like really hard because no one had written a personal statement of that way. Like my parents didn't have to like, sounds so bad, like sell themselves to like a college.
It essentially is.
But it was helpful because my upstairs neighbor, she had just went to college like 2 years before, so she came and read my essay and helped me with it. So I think if you know someone that's in college or has been to college, that's also very helpful because they understand what you're aiming for.
Yeah, I think it's also good that you brought up your neighbor, because even having that perspective, like they know you but they don't know you that well, so if they were able to like understand your perspective from just reading your essay, then that gives you a good like on like where you're at. But also don't ask for like way too many opinions. I know I gave a list of like many people that you could ask. I would say like max 3, so that you're not like, once you start hearing too much opinions, you're just like, I don't know who's to follow, so don't get overwhelmed. In terms of finalizing your whole entire package, you do need to ask for letters of rec.
You should like ask for a variety of people. So I chose teachers that I didn't have like that close of personal relationship with, but they knew about like all the clubs I was in and all the work I did, and they could speak a lot to like my academic achievement. They were like, yeah, she'll be able to finish her coursework and get things done. But then I also chose like clubs, teachers, and like leaders from outside things that were like, they knew me really well and my personal story, and they could speak to like, she's a good person and she likes to do these type of things. Don't get like all the people that are gonna be like, they're super smart and like no substance to who you are, but then also not a bunch of people that are gonna say like they're a great person and not know anything about your schoolwork. You have to balance it out.
Also, having like a resume to give to your teachers is good, because we do that in college too when we're asking for letters of recommendations, because it's not possible to know everything that a person is doing, especially if you only see them like an hour a day. And so it gives the teachers and the people writing the letters of recommendation more perspective on who you are, and that also helps them write you a good letter of recommendation. So I would just keep one prepared, or just like a brag sheet. I personally chose teachers that I had a personal relationship with, because I felt like it would speak more about who I was as an individual. So I guess what you're trying to stress in your application can also be reflected by what your teachers or like the people are writing about you in the letters of recommendation.
If you have a teacher that knows you inside and out of school, like that's bingo, go to them, because that's what colleges are looking for.
Your letter of recommendation is like the second way that they get to see who you are. So like you get to do your personal statement, and then they also get to see how other people view you. So I think just like being mindful of who you're letting write those things. English teachers are always a good choice because they're good at writing.
Yes. I asked my English teacher.
And I also wouldn't limit it to just teachers, because if you're part of like a volunteer organization and a representative there could speak about good things, or like I know a lot of religious people ask their pastors or like congregation leaders. I'd ask my pastor too. And so yeah, you have a lot of options, and like I said before, who you think would speak about you the best in the areas that you want to stress in your application.
And make sure you're asking with enough time in advance. Like everyone's going to be asking for them, and not that you're not important, but like just make sure you're giving them a lot of time in advance to be able to write the best possible essay for you, and that you get it in enough time to be able to submit it, or they can submit it on their behalf. It works different for different schools.
And you can also specifically request them to include certain things about you.
Yeah.
Like in that email, or like if you're talking like face to face, and be like, hey, like can you mention this?
Yeah.
Just like put it in there. Don't be afraid, because they're also there like to help you. And that's my other biggest like tip. Like don't be afraid to ask for help. I know, especially like as first generation students, you feel the burden to like, no, I got it, like I'm gonna figure this out by myself. But that's what your counselors are there for. That's what your teachers are there for.
During the college application process, it's really easy to get really focused on getting into school and then accepting a school, but like just making sure you're celebrating everything along the way, especially if you're the first one in your family to ever do it. Like we celebrate when we finish the college application, and like even if I never got in, like we were just happy I even sent one off because I was the first one to ever do that. So just remembering that like you're celebrating every little thing that happens, whether you end up going or not going, getting in or not getting in.
Yeah, and once you apply, that's when you start like just leaving your options open. Like don't close off community college because you want to go to a prestigious school, or like consider transferring or taking a gap year. Like you have so many options, and we'll do a whole other video talking about like choosing the right college, because there's so many factors that go into that. So don't have your mind set on one, because you never know what's gonna happen, and it just hurts 10 times more if you have this like false reality in your head that you're gonna go to this one school and then you don't get accepted and you're like, well fuck, I don't want to go anywhere. But it's like, no, you have so many options. Leave your options open.
It's really scary, but once you fill out one or two, it'll feel a lot better. And you should be proud of yourself for even trying. Like the fact that you looked for this YouTube video just is already like a big step.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to reach out. You guys always have access to my Instagram. Like I get so many DMs of people asking me like college tips and everything. That's why I'm making this video. But if you guys have any other specific questions, feel free to comment down below. I read all my comments, all my DMs, so I'm here for you guys. Like, we're all here for you guys. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, take care. Bye. I don't know what's going on with that man. I'm sorry if you can hear the background noise. There's someone playing some music. You guys